The Canada Revenue Agency and the Canada Revenue Agency Corporation, the real CRA and the fake CRA, Part 5. Now, the CRA Corporation is a secret entity within the CRA. They merged in 2020. After being the customer service to the CRA, this private entity, the CRA Corporation, created a customer service of its own that also served those from Service Canada, the corrupt government official, uh, those who steal your tax refunds and benefits, pensions, compensations, employment insurance, and social assistance, and call themselves Employment and Social Development Canada, the phantom entity. This customer service operates from 875 Heron Road, Ottawa, but the principal uses the address somewhere else in North Bay in Ontario, and his name is Akub Sheikh. He claims that his company is doing business as the Canada Revenue Agency. This is the place of they send the automatic collection letters to students whose identities are used by the bank officials and those of the provincial and federal government to take loans fraudulently and in a fraudulent manner. They also send letters to demand repayment of social assistance, guaranteed income supplement, employment insurance, and compensations. None of the people ever uses their real name, or sometimes without name, and their telephone numbers represent scam number. They use internet telephone, VoIP, and other means of communications to contact you and demanding payment for debt that is not yours. They claim they are Government of Canada, the CRA, and the Ontario Ministry of Finance, and the Employment and Social Development Canada, a phantom entity. Since the government took over the student loan repayment program in 2013, this customer service began radically chases after the students and forced them to be responsible for the debt of the corrupt bank officials and corrupt government officials who have then worked as contractors at Service Canada. In its collection letter, it demands that the students should send the money directly to the different government officials at their P.O. Box addresses. In their envelope, this customer service that doing business as the CRA always uses different P.O. Box addresses that used to belong to the CRA contractors. They use the name CRA or Employment and Social Development Canada, a phantom entity, an entity that does not exist. Like the CRA Corporation, this customer service is very radical in its demand for the innocent students to pay for the debt that belongs to the bank officials and corrupt government officials. Their communication is deceitful. Sometimes they use the name of the National Student Loan Service Center, an entity the government created when the student loan was officially privatized in 1999. This entity serves as administration unit that sends the students the loan documents. It is the middleman between the Department of Human Resources and Social Development Canada, a process that used to be done by colleges or universities. The government knows about the fraudulent student loan. Rather than fixing the problem, it took over the student loan program in 2006, in less than 5 years after the privatization of student loan. The National Student Loan Service Center was then defaulted. It is no longer existed. The students have to apply for a loan directly to the college or university where they were going to study until today. It is similar in the past where the college or university was the direct processor of student loan. Politicians are actually spoon-fed when it comes to public policy. They do not do public policy work or regulations, which are their main task. They contract the job out to the third party, the think tank groups or businesses that have political ties to them. Therefore, instead of stopping the fraud, these public leaders were given a policy of combining the federal and provincial loan into one loan. Since the politicians do not read, but only one or two paragraphs, they are taken around the circle and never solve the problem. They are not problem solver. After knowing that thousands of students defaulted their loan due to the fact that they realized their loans turned out to be double or triple, eventually the government removed the middleman, the National Student Loan Service Center, and returned the administrative process to colleges and universities. The students have to apply for student loan directly from the college or university where they have to have been accepted to study, and no more paper trail. All applications were digital. They have to go to the college or university portal to apply for the loan. However, once a thief, always a thief. These corrupt bank officials and government officials made out fraudulent documents and used them to keep taking the loan, using the students' identities with the defaulted National Student Loan Service Center as the center of the loans activity. So those these corrupt peoples have to be put in jail, but the government didn't do that. Having foreigners to work as the customer service makes the communications useless. They are just radically chased after the students. They constantly harass these innocent students using fraudulent schemes as well. For example, with the CRA Corporation people, they create their own Department of Justice Canada to scare the students. The appeal office, the federal court of Canada that issue garnishment to steal students' payroll without the students know about it. The most interesting thing is that the collection agent, the clerk, the Department of Justice Canada official, the court clerk, or clerk at the ministry office, and the judge are all the same person, the customer service agent. They're everything. The most illegal and radical deed these corrupt officials do is that they negotiated with the CRA Corporation agents to whom the government allowed to print checks on behalf of the government or those who process payment and take the students' tax refunds and federal and provincial benefits without the students know about it. They put it in the notice of assessment to force the students to be responsible for the debt of these corrupt officials. It's very sad, isn't it? Your communication to the CRA or this customer service is simply a waste of time. They never read. Even the CRA, including the Minister of National Revenue and the CRA Commissioner, ignore you. Your communication always ends up in the hand of the customer service. What kind of government is this? The customer service itself makes a living from your tax dollars, but they treat you as criminals while those who commit the crime are the insiders. They use the system to victimize you and demand that you have to be responsible for their crime. While the Canada Revenue Agency Corporation operates as the direct customer service of the CRA, which later establishes another customer service whose job is nothing but chasing those who have become victims of the CRA Corporation and Service Canada people, including 650,000 students whose identities have been used by the corrupt officials, bank officials, and those who used to work at the Department of Human Resources and Social Development Canada and those at the provincial government, the Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities, and of course, the CRA themselves, people themselves. This customer service of the CRA Corporation claims it is doing business as the CRA, but without a name, and it works using different names such as the CRA, the Employment and Social Development Canada, which is a phantom entity, doesn't exist. The National Student Loan Service Center, which was defaulted in 2006 when government took over the student loan program in 2006, and no name but only the address or PO boxes of the CRA contractors that are no longer valid. However, in the collection statement, this customer service led by Akub Sheikh, which is the principal of this customer service, requires that the victim to send the money or payment directly to the corrupt officials at their different PO boxes, but at the same address, the address used by Service Canada contractors, the corrupt former government officials, which is in Matane, Quebec. This customer service will send collection letters or make telephone calls to students whose identities have been used by the corrupt bank officials and the corrupt government officials who work or used to work at the federal government and the provincial government that deal with student loan. Or the one at the federal government, they took internal loan, but then they charge the student to pay back the loan. How unethical they are. They also call the small business operators and cheat them on their so-called audit. There has never been any audit when things are about your bank accounts. It is robbery. It is a fraud. Because you operate the government as a corporation, many are lobbying the government to access your tax dollars and become wealthy at your expense. Even politicians also lobby their fellow politicians to prioritize their interests, which they are competing among each other. That's why when you work in the government, they always say that competing interests. And in order to access your tax dollars without scrutiny, they have politicians to remove all the knowledge and knowledge expertise people from the government, all levels of government, incrementally and radically, beginning from Pierre Trudeau and Harper, clean them all up. Once the cronies have access to the positions in the government, or having their representatives to occupy the important positions in the government, they use their political power and authority to exploit and victimize you to cover their thefts and robberies. These representatives control the government and have them to spend your tax dollars on them and their cronies. When you operate the government as a corporation, people tend to treat the office and resources as political leaders and political appointed leaders do. They use your tax dollars and their personal expenses. For example, the Governor General spent $130,000 on clothing annually. So this is the list of, for example, for this 24 or 25, 2,500 on luxury wool suits, 1,500 on sealskin chest piece, over $1,000, 6 pairs of shoes, blazer, dress, coat, camisoles, and black dress cardigan and top. These are the list of personal expenses that the Governor General uh, use for your tax dollars. Politicians use your tax dollars for personal expenses. This is very wrong. This is a corrupt practice. Justin Trudeau, for example, spent 55,000 on your tax dollars on his groceries. He should use his salary to spend on his groceries, but no, he charged you. Provincial and town or municipal politicians also do the same. They use your tax dollars to buy clothes, shoes, cars, and even to pay off their mortgage. This is what happened when you turn the government into a corporation. They treat your tax dollars as their private money, but still at your expense. It is very wrong to turn the government into a corporation. When you make the government to operate as a corporation, the government thinks that the money is theirs, it's not yours. So politicians also treat your tax dollars as their own money. So they use your tax dollars on personal expenses to balance budget. They don't know that the government does not work with balanced budget, but a rolling budget. Balanced budget causes massive corruption. They just play with numbers. Move from one to there, increase here, decrease there, and then split the numbers up as long as they balance the budget. People use the excess money on personal expenses. A rolling budget, on the other hand, creates accountability, and your tax dollars spent are always accounted for, and any excess money will be rolled over to the next or for the next year budget. Like the expenses of the Governor General I have mentioned in the earlier slide, politicians also spend money on their personal expenses such as clothes, purses, shoes, travels, etc. Like the side covering for their balanced budget for using for personal expenses. Politicians also spend your tax dollars on things that are considered wasted and useless ideas or childlike ideas. The politicians want to cover the thefts of your tax dollars by their political cronies who have become millionaires and billionaires without paying taxes while using the CRA audit practice to force you to pay taxes. They keep millions and billions to the wealthy cronies but exploit you and crush you with little tax, which they say you owe while the audit is a fraud. It's all about your bank account. Do you know that one of the Harper's leadership characteristic is that he did things first? After knowing that you do not know or never protest the thing he did, he announced it and you accepted it. Then your expression is Harper does what he said he wants to do. He has done it secretly, and now he wants you to know that this is what he does. Here are some examples of how politicians spend your tax dollars beside on personal expense, on childlike ideas such as millions on branded merchandise, hats, laser pens, circuiteer board, and climate change card games. 100,000 studying the life of a grocery cart. What is that? What does it have to do with you and your tax dollars? 20,000 studying gender politics of Peruvian rock music. What does it have to do with your tax dollars and your social and well-being, social welfare? 8,000 studying online Harry Potter fan community. What does it have to do with your tax dollars and you? These are childlike items that have no place in federal budget. Now, the fiscal budget is a Chinese big box. It is formed in a Chinese big box. These items are inside the Chinese big box that you do not see and can only see when they want to balance a budget. They waste millions of dollars annually but turn around and audit you to make money out of you while giving you financial difficulty. Harper did things first and then announced after he has done it. So now he wanted to continue. So this is also the characteristic of the CRA corporation. Politicians do not know how the government makes its income. Even those who are called the CEO of the former Crown Corporation that have been privatized do not know how to make income for the corporation. They depend on subsidy. They believe in cost saving or cost benefit analysis. They are paid millions at the cost of the foregone employees, reduced services and provision. For example, Bell Canada CEO sent thousands of employees to unemployment while increasing his salary. In other words, the preaching about cost saving is the result of foregone employees. Similarly, politicians take a ride on the public office and exploit its resources while chasing you for a little money you make. They want to be paid millions, but counting on the days politicians work in the public office and the things they do for you, they don't deserve greater payment. Like the CEO who received millions in exchange for the foregone employees. The most rejected in the government are those with knowledge and knowledge expertise, which are the backbone of the government, backbone of any organization. The removal of those with knowledge and knowledge expertise from the government causes the government to be weak and suffer from severe mental and technical capacity. Organization, management, and leadership-wise, the government is in a dysfunctional state, and agents of influence like to deal with dysfunctional leaders or dysfunctional government because they can control. This amendment shows that the government has been taken over by the outsiders who use the tax office and have fed the leaders to make such amendment to allow them to rob you more and more because they have flourished since the creation of the CRA Corporation. Pay attention to this audit. It is political. From a small amount, they multiply it because they want to make as much money as possible just from one victim. It balloons to 8 times, 6 times. The government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is a public institution and meant for all citizens. However, since the government reform, it becomes a corporation and no longer it is an institution of the people, by the people, and for the people, but it is a corporation managed by the politician and their political staff and for the cronies. When you write to these leaders, they send you to the customer service. And there, so now they want this audit. They want more audit powers. This audit has nothing to do with audit. It is about your bank record, the materials you have in the house. For example, your car, the type of your car, the house, the rooms in your house, your TV and its size, and other materials you have in your house. Then the auditor steal all your records you gave as required so that you have no record to defend yourself. The root is for this audit is greed, the love for money. The root is all evils. Read more about this book or read in this book Canada's White Collar Crimes, Political, Financial, and Corporate Crimes. You will have better understanding the strategies and schemes of the CRA audit and those who call themselves Employment and Social Development Canada.